Okay, so imagine this. You walk into a restaurant for lunch, but this isn't, your typical bistro. It is pitch black.
Absolute darkness.
Total, absolute darkness. You can't see your hand in front of your face. And to even find your table, you have to strap on this, heavy miner's helmet with a little lamp on it.
Right.
So you stumble to your seat, you're bumping into chairs, feeling completely out of your element. You sit down, you order, and you wait. And then something really strange starts to happen.
The biology takes over.
Exactly. After just a few minutes, you realize you don't even need the lamp anymore. You can take the helmet off, you can actually see the menu, you can see your fork, your eyes have done that miraculous thing they do, regenerating rhodopsin, adjusting the pupil.
And your friend across the table, they lean in and say,
"See?
Yeah.
It doesn't take long. You get used to the darkness."
It's such a striking image to start with. And I mean, physiologically, it's a survival mechanism. Our eyes adjust so we can navigate. It's a good thing biologically. But the source material we're looking at today, this is a message from Pastor Hu Zhikang on February 21st, 2026. It takes that biological fact and flips it into a pretty heavy spiritual warning.
It really is a fascinating pivot. So today on our deep dive, we're unpacking a discussion that goes from that dark restaurant into what the source calls the forced stratosphere of family gatherings.
What a phrase.
Isn't it? We're looking at sources that explore this idea of spiritual desensitization and, maybe more relatable for everyone listening, how to navigate the complex, sometimes just awkward social dynamics of the holidays.
Without losing your mind.
Or your values. Yeah.
Right. And specifically, the source is framing this around the tail end of the Lunar New Year holiday. It's that moment when the parties are winding down, the adrenaline is gone, and you have to get back to reality. But the core question is universal. How do we maintain our values, our internal light, without becoming, annoyingly self-righteous when we're in places that don't share our beliefs?
It's the classic dilemma, right?
Yeah.
How do you stick to your guns without being the person everyone wants to avoid at the dinner table? So let's go back to that restaurant, the miner's helmet metaphor, because the source isn't just using this as a fun little story.
Oh no, it's absolutely central to the argument. The narrator in the source is surprised at how fast they could read the menu without the light. But the punchline, it isn't about vision, it's about morality.
Right.
The source argues that this biological adaptation, it perfectly parallels a kind of spiritual numbness.
You get used to the darkness. That's the line that really stuck with me. It's framed as a danger, not a skill.
Precisely. The argument here is that people have this terrifying capacity to tolerate negative behaviors, or in the language of the source, sin.
At first, something might shock you.
Exactly, it makes you uncomfortable. But if you stay in that environment long enough, or if you participate just a little bit, your spiritual pupils dilate. You lose the sensation that it's wrong. You just get desensitized.
It's that boiled frog analogy, but with a visual twist. You don't realize how dark it's gotten because your eyes have adjusted to make it look normal.
And the source does not pull any punches here. There's a line where he says, "A Christian living in sin, someone who has adapted to the dark, becomes a terrible weapon in the hands of Satan."
Whoa. That is a very strong image.
It is.
I want to dig into that. Why a weapon? Usually we think of someone who is, lapsing in their values as maybe a victim or just struggling. But weapon implies you're doing active damage.
Well, it's about the camouflage. If someone openly rejects morality, you know where they stand. Your guard is up.
Sure, you see it coming.
But if someone has the label of believer or good person, yet their actions are identical to the darkness around them, they make the darkness seem okay, they validate it, they become an agent of negativity because they're a trusted insider who's been compromised, they lower the standard for everyone.
That's a heavy thought. It's not just about you, it's the signal you're sending.
Right.
And to counter this, the source brings in a devotional by Pastor Huabi looking at 1 Peter. This is where we get the soldier mindset. And I love good tactical metaphor, but this one surprised me. The text says a soldier needs to arm themselves, but they aren't grabbing a sword or a shield. The weapon is what?
The weapon is your attitude, your mindset.
Attitude is a weapon. I feel like that needs some explaining. Usually we think of attitude as, something soft.
Right, he has a bad attitude today.
Yeah, exactly. But here it's presented as actual combat gear.
If you look at the source text, it says, viewpoint determines the result. The idea is if you go into a challenging environment, a culture of greed, a morally tricky situation, with a weak or casual attitude, you're going to lose.
You'll be defeated.
You will adapt to the darkness because it's the path of least resistance. The weapon is that conscious, premeditated decision to accept suffering in the flesh in order to break with sin.
Suffering in the flesh. Okay, that sounds intense. A little medieval to modern ears, maybe? Are we talking about, like, hair shirts and sleeping on the floor?
No, not quite. In this context, it's not about self-flagellation. It's about the discomfort of saying no. It's the pain of discipline.
Ah, okay. The pain of missing out. The social awkwardness.
That's it. It's uncomfortable to be the only person not laughing at a cruel joke. It's physically and socially uncomfortable to turn down a shady business deal when you really need the money. That social friction, that death of your immediate desire, that is the suffering.
And you need a combat attitude to endure it.
You do, because if you don't see that discomfort as a battle you're winning, you'll just fold. You'll turn off your light to fit in.
That makes so much sense. It reframes the awkwardness. Instead of thinking, oh, this is awkward, I should just go along with it, you think, this awkwardness is the fight I came for.
Right.
Okay, so this brings us to the second major part of the source. We're moving from the internal battle, the dark restaurant, to the external one, the family reunion.
The forced stratosphere.
I have to say, I laughed when I read that. It is such a specific and maybe slightly cynical way to describe a family gathering. Can you unpack what the source means by stratosphere?
It's a really clever play on words. Typically, when we talk about a stratosphere or an echo chamber today, we mean a group of like-minded people.
Yeah, our bubble.
Exactly. Socially, it's where we hang out with people who think like us, vote like us, it's comfortable, it's stable.
We choose those stratospheres, our friends, our online groups.
We curate them. But the source adds that crucial word, forced.
The forced stratosphere.
And this is about those big family holidays, Lunar New Year, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you name it. You're gathered with people not because you share an ideology, but purely because of bloodline.
So it's a bubble you can't pop. You're stuck in there.
Exactly. You are strapped into a seat next to people you might never choose to be with. And because of that, the source points out it's often filled with friction. He uses this Taiwanese phrase, ka-ka-ka-ka. It means feeling stuck, awkward, like a gear that isn't turning smoothly.
I think everyone listening can relate to that ka-ka feeling. You walk into a relative's house and the air just changes. The conversation is jagged. And the source is specific about what's happening in this bubble. It's not just awkward silence, it's active negativity. It's the comparison Olympics, right?
Yes, the source describes it as a clash of light versus darkness. You get the comparison games, who makes more money, whose kids are in better schools. Then there's greed, jealousy, sarcasm.
Yeah.
He describes a scenario where you feel like you are sitting on needles. You can't leave because of, filial piety, but all your internal alarm bells are just screaming.
It's that feeling of being trapped. And the source uses a biblical analogy here that's pretty dramatic to describe this. He says it's like sending sheep among wolves.
It is dramatic, but in a really dysfunctional family gathering, it might feel pretty accurate to some people.
Sure.
And the dilemma the source points out is that in a forced stratosphere, you don't always know who is the wolf and who is the sheep.
Oh, that's interesting. You assume you're on the same team because you're related, but their values might be predatory.
That's the image. And the instruction from the source, referencing the text, is to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. It implies a really high level of social intelligence.
That's a tricky balance. I mean, usually we think of serpents as the bad guys.
Right, but here, the serpent represents strategic wisdom, awareness. You need to read the room, that's the wisdom, but maintain your integrity. That's the innocence.
So you don't attack the wolves, but you don't let them eat you either.
You just recognize the trap. You see the bait of the comparison game and you just step around it. You see the sarcasm coming and you duck instead of firing back.
Which leads us to the most practical part of this deep dive. Okay, we have the problem. We adapt to darkness and we're stuck in a room with people maybe pushing that darkness on us. So how do we act?
Right.
The source gives two incredible metaphors for how not to influence people. The first one is high beams.
This is a brilliant metaphor for over-aggressive religious expression. Think about driving at night. High beams are designed to help you see, right?
Yeah, to light up the road ahead.
But what happens if you blast them right into the face of an oncoming driver?
They get blinded, they panic, they probably swerve or flash their lights back at you angry. It's dangerous.
Exactly. So the source warns against being a high beam Christian. This is someone who thinks, I have the truth, I have the light, and just blasts it in their family's faces.
They think they're helping, doing it for your own good.
But the result is the other person just shuts their eyes. It causes repulsion, not attraction.
It's that holier-than-thou approach. You walk in, you criticize the gossip, you lecture your cousin about their life choices. You're blinding them, not guiding them.
And it destroys relationships. The source is so clear on this, it just makes people resentful. It forces them to put up walls.
Okay, so don't blind grandma with your high beams. Got it. The second warning is against dead salt. Now, salt is usually a good thing in these metaphors, salt of the earth and all that. What's dead salt?
So the translation here is really interesting. It refers to salt that's so misused or concentrated it makes the food inedible. We all know salt enhances flavor.
But have you ever taken a bite of something where the cook just spilled the whole salt shaker in?
It's awful. You have to spit it out. It ruins the whole dish.
That's the metaphor.
That's it. The source warns against being so salty, so heavy-handed with preachy behavior or judgment, that you ruin the flavor of the gathering. Instead of enhancing the joy, you make the whole interaction impossible to swallow.
Impossible to swallow. That's a great way to put it. If every conversation becomes a sermon, you're the dead salt. You're ruining the meal.
So you have these two extremes to avoid, the blinding high beams and the inedible dead salt. Both claim to be sharing faith, but they actually drive people away. They're just clumsy.
So what's the solution? If we can't blast them with light or bury them in salt, what does the source say we should do? Because we are supposed to be a positive influence, not just hide.
The source pivots to a concept that I found really compelling. It suggests living a life that generates envy.
Envy. That sounds counterintuitive. Isn't envy like one of the 7 deadly sins?
Usually, yes. But here, the source means living a life that other people want. And this is crucial. It is not about material wealth. The source is explicit. It's not about flashing a Rolex.
Because then you're just playing the wolf's game.
Exactly. You're just winning the comparison game, not changing it. Instead, it's about creating a kind of envy for your peace, your joy, your stability. The source literally asks, is your life distinct enough that people are jealous of your peace?
Ah, I see. It's about lifestyle evangelism, but focus on the fruits of that lifestyle.
Correct. In a room full of anxiety and that friction, the person who is genuinely calm and kind and secure, they stand out like a beacon. But a soft beacon, not a high beam.
So instead of telling them they're wrong, you show them you're happy.
Yes. The most effective witness, according to the source, is when a relative looks at you and thinks, why aren't they stressed? Why aren't they bickering with their spouse? Why are they smiling? I want whatever they have. That curiosity opens the door. The high beams just slam it shut.
It's the difference between forcing someone to eat and cooking a meal that smells so good they ask for a bite.
That's a perfect analogy, but, and this is a big but, the source emphasizes this, requires being genuine. You can't just be a Sunday Christian.
Your family knows you too well.
They know your history. They know what you were like when you were 15. They have the receipts.
They do. They remember the tantrums.
They do. If the change isn't real, if you're faking the peace, they'll spot it immediately. It has to be a deep, real change in your attitude weapon.
So this brings us to the end of the source material. The holiday's over. The fourth stratosphere dissolves. People go back to their lives. The source uses this phrase, collect the heart.
Yes, 送信. It's a common phrase used at the end of a vacation. It literally means to gather your scattered spirit and focus it back on the tasks ahead. Work, school.
But the source adds a spiritual layer to it, right? It's not just about getting back to the grind.
He does. He frames that transition back to normal life as the proving ground. It's easy to have big thoughts during a sermon, but the real test is Monday morning.
Yeah.
The source challenges the listener. After all that friction, after the temptation to adapt to the dark, are you returning to your daily life better than before?
It's a call to verify the data. If you claim to have this light, did it survive the family reunion?
And are you taking it back into your workplace? Has there been progress in your professional attitude, your family life? It's a call against stagnation. If you just go through the cycle darkness, force stratosphere, recover, repeat, you aren't growing. You're just adapting.
Which loops us right back to the beginning, the miner's helmet. If you're not actively fighting to keep that light on, that attitude weapon, you will eventually just get comfortable in the pitch black.
And that's the real danger. The comfort is the enemy. The comfort of the dark restaurant where you don't have to look at the mess. Or the comfort of just playing along with the wolves to avoid conflict. The source demands a higher standard.
Be distinct. Be salt that tastes good.
Yeah.
Be light that illuminates, not blinds.
Yeah.
it is a powerful message, I think, regardless of your theology. We all face those environments where the pressure to conform is just huge. We all have those family gatherings where we revert to being like 12 years old again.
It is, and we all have that choice, to adapt to the gloom or to arm ourselves with a different mindset, to say, I'm entering this space, but I'm not of this space.
So here's the provocative thought I want to leave you with, building on all this. We talked about the high beams blinding people, but think about the restaurant again, that miner's helmet. It helps you find your table. It doesn't light up the whole room for everybody else.
That's a great distinction.
Maybe the goal isn't to light up the whole room. Maybe it's not to fix your family. Maybe the goal is just to walk so clearly and confidently to your own table, without stumbling, that the people sitting in the dark wonder how on earth you're doing it.
I like that. It shifts the focus from controlling others to stabilizing yourself. And ironically, that stability is what ends up influencing others.
Exactly, because they see you navigating the same obstacles that they're tripping over.
Yeah.
So are you a high beam blinding your family? Or is your life actually distinct enough that people are jealous of your peace? That's the question to mull over as you head back into your own stratosphere today.
And remember, don't get used to the darkness.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.